Ajiro, Hayashi, Inoue, Kobashigawa, Okutsu, Sakato, Hasemoto, Hayashi, Kuroda, Moto, Muranaga, Nakaye, Nakamine, Nakamura, Nishimoto, Ohata, Okubo, Ono, Otani, Tanaue.
During the darkest days of World War II, patriotic young men from California, Hawaii, and around the country volunteered for the U.S. Army, but they were rejected. And while their later service would prove essential to American victory, these men did not return home as heroes. Sadly, they had other battles yet to fight. Long before California was a state, people came, chasing their dreams, whether their dream was discovering gold or just finding a job, and with it a better life for them and their families. But Asian immigrants found that opportunities in California were not equal. Well into the 20th century, federal and state laws restricted their rights. Immigrants from Japan weren't allowed to become citizens or even to own real estate. Their children, the Nisei generation, were born in the United States and were American citizens. As such, they believed they had the same rights as all other citizens. That is, until 1941 and the December 7th attack on Pearl Harbor. Everyone understood the attack meant war with Japan, but no one anticipated what soon followed. Police and FBI agents began arresting prominent Japanese Americans, taking them away without charges or explanations. Suddenly there were curfews and travel restrictions, and Nisei boys volunteering to fight for the U.S. were not allowed to enlist. In early 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order 9066 commanded men, women, even little children, everyone of Japanese ancestry, to leave their West Coast homes, some with just 24 hours' notice. We were at war with Germany and Italy too, but by and large, 9066 only affected Japanese Americans. Crops were left in the fields, property sold for a few dollars, and except for what they could carry, people left behind everything they owned, even the family pets. The government quickly built 10 internment camps in the California desert and in 6 other states to jail over 110,000 Japanese Americans. Unlike Nazi Germany's concentration camps, where millions of Jews and others were murdered during World War II, no one was executed in these American camps. But they were prisons, filled with innocent people, and most were American citizens. By 1943, the U.S. was drafting over 3 million men a year for the war effort, but Nisei men stayed locked in the camps. Some protested their imprisonment. Many others sought to enlist to prove their loyalty as Americans. On February 1, 1943, the U.S. government approved the formation of a segregated Japanese-American combat team. Thousands of men from the camps and from Hawaii volunteered for the new 442nd Regimental Combat Team. After training, they joined with the 100th Battalion from Hawaii to fight in Europe. Their motto was, "Go for broke." In fierce combat, they drove the enemy from the hills and mountains of France and Italy. The 442nd went on to earn 7 Presidential Unit citations and became the most decorated unit in United States military history. Historian Dr. Gordon Bakken of California State University, Fullerton, sums up the 442nd's combat record.
They demonstrated extreme valor in the face of the most difficult odds against very experienced German troops. Not an easy job, very difficult job, and the Nisei did it.
Even before Pearl Harbor, the Secret Military Intelligence Service, the MIS, began training 6,000 Nisei volunteers as interpreters and translators. These soldiers worked in the Pacific, monitoring enemy radio transmissions, reading maps and documents, and interrogating prisoners. Experts say they shortened the war with Japan by 2 years. Their loyalty proven again and again, the Nisei veterans returned home, expecting acceptance and the end of discrimination. But they were wrong. Racist attitudes and laws in California had not changed. Japanese Americans found their property missing or vandalized. Some of their houses and churches were set afire or hit with bullets. Nisei veterans were discouraged from pursuing higher education and were turned down or blackballed from unions, jobs, and housing. Before World War II, the Masuda family farmed in Orange County, California. Then in the spring of 1942, Executive Order 9066 forced them to abandon their home and crops. 4 Masuda's sons fought in the U.S. Army. One of them, Kazuo, single-handedly turned back an enemy attack on his infantry company. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's second-highest award for heroism. 2 months later, he was killed in action while fighting in Italy. Back in the United States, a group of men confronted his sister Mary, declaring that no Japanese would be allowed back in Orange County. The service of her 4 brothers, the Distinguished Service Cross, and Kazuo's death on the battlefield meant nothing to the racist mob. Army General Joseph Stilwell, in a show of support for returning Japanese-American families, presented Kazuo's medal to Mary Masuda at the family's farm. Army Captain and later President Ronald Reagan led a second ceremony at the Santa Ana Bowl. Mas Masuda, Kazuo's brother, was there. In one of his most moving speeches, Reagan said, "The blood that has soaked the sands of a beach is all one color. America stands unique in the world, the only country not founded on race, but on an ideal. That is the American way."